I had another PTSD day again today. I'm not gonna explain all of it. It was twisted and disturbing and pretty confusing and traumatizing. Why won't it work? But in short, a very, very close friend of mine played a simple joke on me that went really, really wrong and really fucked me up. So I'm not gonna read or explain the whole thing. Maybe I'll talk about it tomorrow if I am still having trouble with it. But I'll just read my message about what I sent to her several hours later about what happened, because she was like, oh, I'm so worried that my joke hurt you or that you're mad at me. So because I didn't respond for several hours because I just needed to be away from my phone to calm down and get through trying to figure out and remember and recall what's real and what's not. So this is just my message I sent to her. I'm not mad. I know you didn't intend any ill will and were just being playful and silly. Me believing this story and trying to figure it out and worrying so much about you caused me to have a panic attack. It reminded me a lot of the unexplainable things that happened to my sister a few years ago when she went to a psych ward. It all just didn't make any sense, and there was nothing I could do to help except sit here and feel horribly terrible that something so traumatic was happening to someone I loved so much. When you explained that it was a joke, I was already invested in comprehending what you were saying was true, and I just saw something out of the corner of my eye. I think it might have been Wayne, but I'm not sure. And I was already invested in comprehending what you were saying was true, and I had several really bad panic attacks, and then the whole thing just gave me immediate PTSD and put me in a dream-like state because the whole thing caused me so much fear to rise up. So to think about it really hurts my brain right now and just causes me to feel scared that it is real and happening. After my panic attacks, it felt like I couldn't comprehend what was real and what wasn't. The whole experience feels like a terrible nightmare that doesn't make any sense and is all fuzzy. It really is a funny joke. Brandon laughed a lot when I couldn't speak to explain that it was all a joke, and he read the message. I just had a panic attack for like 30 minutes after reading it was a joke. It felt like when Aunt Karen died, or Travis died in a way, or remembering Polka dying. It just doesn't make sense. There was nothing I could do, and it hurt so bad, and then to find out so abruptly that it wasn't real was just really confusing on top of how confusing it already was. Nothing felt real for a couple hours, and everything felt like a dream state of nothing being real at all. And I didn't know if I could really believe anything that has or is happening at all. The fear it caused me is still freaking me out. It's freaking me out right now because it really just all happened so quickly, and I had no control over any of it. I really thought that you wouldn't joke with me about not being able to walk, and that's why I believed you, especially after I asked if it was a joke, and you didn't say it wasn't. So I figured if you really were having walking problems, it would make sense that you would tell me, because I couldn't walk for so long, so I'd be an optimal optimal person who might understand what that was like. I'm not mad, just scared and traumatized and trying to recover. I needed to go be away from the experience so that I could try and get my brain off of the fear and in the present moment. So we went out and got some food and cookies, and I left my phone away from me for a while to distance myself from the triggering event. You had no idea that a simple, silly joke would do this to me. Reminds me of when I was a kid and Sharon put ketchup and mustard on her arm and pretended to be cut and hurt. I believed her and was so worried, and then everyone laughed at me. It was a terrible experience. I just really feel off and on stupid, along with feeling like the whole thing didn't happen but did happen. Not sure how much of these messages make sense about PTSD experiences. Just trying to explain what has happened in my brain to the best of my ability. I'm calming down a bit, still not all the way recovered, still have dreadful moments of it all coming back. Sometimes it takes me a while to recover. Polka's death is still haunting me, and this is now almost a month later. I'm still doing my best to tell myself I did everything I could, and I'm still doing my best to tell myself I did everything I could, and she was meant to die when she did. But the images of her dying and her dead body and the feelings of guilt and shame still arise and come back, and I have to work through them pretty much every day. This joke isn't real, but it felt so real, and I was so afraid and confused that it must have embedded itself in my brain as a real trauma that I have to work through. I love you. I'm not mad. The joke's funny, and sometimes when I think about it, I do see the humor. But mostly right now, to think about it causes me immense fear. By the way, the short socks are meant to be Lance's, and the long ones are meant to be yours. But of course, you can share. I tried to pick the brightest ones for you, and Lance said if he wore normal socks, they'd be ankle socks. I'm glad you like them. Love you. Know that it wasn't you that hurt me. Brandon thinks the joke is hilarious and laughs so hard. It's just my own past traumas and already heightened anxious state from the past several months of mental health recovery and my predisposition to developing PTSD so easily. So that is, in short, what happened. I'm feeling a bit better now that I've sent that message to her. I've gone through it and I reread the messages of what the traumatic event was, and so I'm feeling a bit better right now, but even when I do feel better, it still fluctuates, like, and then in a half hour it might go back to being fearful. So we'll see. I'm really tired. Brandon and we got grass-fed beef burgers. They were good from Gray's Burgers. And I just heard like a squeaking noise. And then we're watching Sister Act. So I'll go replay this noise and see what it was. Kind of strange. Right? Good night.